Bonjour, la leçon d'aujourd'hui est sur les adjectifs, comment décrire en français, the adjectival agreement describing in French. So the objective for the lesson is to use adjectives accurately, and we'll be looking at 4 specific things. We'll be looking at gender, looking at numbers, so singular and plural. We'll be looking at some irregular adjective endings, and finally we'll look at pronunciation. First of all, let's think about masculine and feminine and how it works when we describe someone. So it's quite easy because obviously if you're describing Patrick, you know he's a man, and if you're describing Morgan, you know she's a lady. So it's quite easy to know what's masculine, what's feminine. Now if you're trying to describe an object, for example, a chair, we need to wonder whether it's masculine or feminine. The rule, even though there are exceptions, the main rule to remember is if it ends with an E, it is feminine. Okay? So we know that Patrick is masculine, Morgan is feminine, and so is the chair. What do we do about it? Well, it's quite simple. If I want to say that Patrick, Morgan, and the chairs are short, then it will be like this. Patrick est petit. Petit is like that, the main form, the simple version, what you have in the dictionary, because it's masculine. Now for feminine, we will need to add an E to the adjective. Okay? And the same way for the chair, we've seen the chair is feminine, we need to add an E. So Patrick est petit, Morgan est petite, et la chaise est petite. If there is one rule to remember about feminine and adjectives, it is that. If it ends with an E, it is feminine, and because it is feminine, you need to add an E to the describing word. Now, what about singular and plural? Because it does happen that we describe more than one person or object. So if we've got a variety of people, Patrick, Thierry, Morgan, Regine, a chair and a fridge, then what do we do about that? So very simply, describing Patrick and Thierry together are being short becomes this. Patrick et Thierry sont petits. Sont obviously changes because they are short instead of Patrick is short. But just like in English, what we need to know is we add the extra S because it is two of them. So even though it's two men, short, in English short doesn't change, but in French the adjective, the describing word, take the extra S too. And that also is the case for Morgan and Regine. Remember, we've seen that they are feminine, so we need the E and the S. If we're now talking about together Patrick and Morgan, one masculine, one feminine, then we'll see there is no extra E. Grammatically, and I insist grammatically only, masculine is stronger and takes over. So no extra E, but two people, so again we add an S. And finally is the same thing for the chair and the fridge. One is masculine, one is feminine, so no extra E, but of course it's plural, so we've got the extra S. Now, thinking about some irregulars, unfortunately not everything follows the pattern, so we need to know a few things. If you have an adjective, a describing word, just like the top one there, ending in IF, sportif, then in the feminine form, it becomes sportive, IVE. And then for the plural, whether it's masculine or feminine, we just need to add the S. Next one, courageux. That will become courageuse. And you will see for the plural, we'll need to add an S for feminine, but the masculine does not change. In that case, the X is what would actually be used for the plural. Travailleur becomes travailleuse, and then we add the S's for the plural. Drôle, as you can see, just like others, already has an E at the end. That means the feminine does not change. It stays as it is. We don't put two E's together. And plural, of course, we add an S. Branché also ends with an E, but it is an E with an accent. When this is the case, then we need to add an extra E. and when necessary, when relevant, for the plural, we add an S. All of those that you see here are to flag up the fact that sometimes we need to double the last letter. Take the example of good in French, bon, B-O-N. If I'm describing a lady as being good, she's a good person, bonne will become B-O-N-N-E. And of course for the plural, as always, we add an S. And some words, like beau, have no logic, no rules, just completely different. They follow a pattern that is not known. Now let's take a second to look at some pronunciation. Listen to these words. Grand, grande, grand, grande. As you know, in French, the last consonant, in this case the D or the S, are silent. So it only changes when we have the added E. In that case, we hear the D. Some differences here too. Sérieux, sérieuse, sérieux, and sérieuse. The last S there is again silent, so is the last X. Travailleur, travailleuse, travailleur, travailleuse. So always remember here, the last S is also silent. Branché, 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 branché. As you can hear, the four of them sound exactly the same. The extra E, the extra S's are silent. Thank you for watching. I hope that you find it useful, that you have now a bit of a better understanding using adjectival agreement, how to describe people or object. Remember, as I always tell you, you will be making mistakes, so it is important to practice, to get your work checked, to get some feedback, and learn from your mistake. Make the mistake again and again, and eventually you will know better. Don't be shy and try. Merci, au revoir.